Princess Leia Organa is one of the most powerful and most important characters in all of Star Wars lore. From an illustrious political career throughout the course of her life, from a diplomat to a trusted rebel leader, an eventual cornerstone of the New Republic, she had no shortage of political experience. Leia's political career actually began when she was just a child, accompanying her adopted father, Bail Organa, on her adventures with the Imperial Senate, and studying under for them for the duration of her early life. This meant that she was far more closely associated with the Empire than she arguably should have been at such a young age, as Bail served on the Imperial Senate and helped manage the daily affairs of the Empire while secretly nightlighting as a rebel leader, committed to destabilizing and dismantling the regime established by Sidious. On one particular occasion, however, Princess Leia actually came into direct contact with none other than the Emperor himself, and shared in a conversation about the Empire with Palpatine long before learning of the Death Star plans or even taking a leadership position in the rebellion, with this marking the only time that Leia and Sidious communicated with one another. So today, weary acolytes and students of the Force, let's dive into this interaction and when Leia came face to face with Emperor Palpatine. This account of events as of now takes place in Legends continuity, but since there is nothing as of now to dispute that this happened in modern canon, it's reasonable to believe it may have also occurred in canon. From a very young age, Princess Leia came to quickly understand that the Empire was a force for evil under the control of this malevolent individual, and the beliefs were verified when she ventured to Coruscant for the very first time. As a member of the Imperial Senate, Bail Organa was invited to a banquet at the capital of the Empire in the year 3 BBY, and Leia insisted that she would join him. For context, this puts Leia at roughly 16 years old. Although he understood the risks of bringing Leia involved, Bail reluctantly agreed to bring his daughter, if she was accompanied by guards from Alderaan at all times. And since she had never displayed any Force-related sensitivity or abilities, he believed that she would be relatively safe from detection from Sidious. While on Coruscant, she was shocked immediately, as she quickly got an up-close and personal look at the xenophobic and racist practices of the Emperor as she entered the slums of the Imperial capital. Though she had been developed an early sense of empathy for those who had been oppressed by the Empire, knowing that the Empire ultimately had to be dismantled, this was her first, most personal look at the actual circumstances, and the circumstances under which non-human entities lived under the power of Sidious. This led to her developing a very early sense of contempt for the Emperor, and her aggressive nature meant that should she ever come face to face with him, she would be eager to berate him, and this party offered her the prime opportunity to do so. She told her father that night that it was her intention to call out the wrongdoings and confront Palpatine about his methods which harmed thousands across his territory, to which he adamantly asked her not to do so. Bail told Leia that Palpatine was dangerous and had power beyond Leia's comprehension. The reasoning he used was that he had to maintain Alderaan's public image, and Alderaan had long since been an avid supporter of the Imperial regime. Bail himself had painted himself as an Imperial sympathizer for the duration of his career, whilst orchestrating the rebellion from the shadows. If Leia confronted the Emperor, then Alderaan's loyalty would be brought into question, and Bail's connection with the Rebel Alliance would put both himself as well as his family in grave danger, not to mention the entire planet. Furthermore, Bail was fully aware of Leia's true parentage, and knew that she was incredibly Force-sensitive due to her bloodline, and he knew exactly what kind of risk he carried if she were to ever be exposed. Leia at the time, though, had no idea of this latent ability, so it wasn't even a matter of having her hide it from these two incredibly powerful individuals in Sidious and Vader. In Star Wars Tales number 15, the comic issue that describes this event, Leia recalls this particular encounter and even comes to fully understand her father's apprehension against Palpatine. Leia states that she was surprised he even let her come in the first place, knowing how Force-sensitive she was and risking exposure to Vader and the Emperor. But since she hadn't displayed any latent Force potential until that point, he must have believed that Leia was relatively safe. In her mind, Leia prepared her arguments and hyped herself up for the eventual encounter, wherein she would be able to finally come face to face with the Emperor and confront him for his wrongdoings. When she finally came face to face with Palpatine, however, this confidence quickly melted away. As soon as she was within his presence, she was consumed by an eerie, uncomfortable feeling of immense darkness that stopped her dead in her tracks, which might have been her detecting his true aura through the Force itself, or it might have been simply his imposing presence before her. Even the brave and headstrong Princess Leia, future leader of the rebellion and fearless soldier, was petrified of Palpatine's mere presence. She describes him as being consumed in the darkness, and she believed him to be one of the single most evil individuals that she had ever encountered. In fact, she confirmed it, and all Palpatine did was smile at her as her aggression and arguments dissipated. Unable to speak beyond a small thank you, Palpatine admired her ferocious nature and stated that he looked forward to her joining the Imperial Senate one day, knowing of Leia's reputation. While Leia crumbled under the pressure, this led one of the most important moments in her life, and one that would define the future of her involvement with the rebellion. The emotion that Leia Organa was left with when she had this devastating encounter with the Emperor was simply that of fear. She had sensed something and felt something within the Emperor that she had never experienced before, and this was Leia Organa's truest brush with the dark side. It was following this though, and Leia being inconsolable, that Bail Organa revealed the truth, and revealed that there was an underground network of rebels working to overthrow Palpatine and his empire. Thus, Leia Organa took her first steps into the rebellion, and it was this moment with Darth Sidious, Emperor Palpatine, that defined Leia as a rebel leader. She sensed the very dark side of the Force within the leader of the Imperial Senate, within the Emperor himself. In many ways, this served as a major awakening for Leia, as this is her first major brush with a Force wielder, if we're not counting the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. This is also her first experience with the dark side of the Force, and it's incredible that although Sidious was unable to sense Leia had any latent Force potential, that she could sense his so purely, as Sidious is quite famous for actually hiding his Force signature. That is why many of the Jedi did not detect him during the prequel era. However, with Leia Organa, whether or not Sidious has stopped hiding, or whether or not she is powerful enough to do so, it is clear that she does sense something dark within Palpatine, and something that shakes her to her core, but also grows to define her, and grows to her ultimately deciding that the Empire must fall. Although Leia crumbled in this single encounter as Palpatine walked past her, an old and decrepit man, she could sense his latent dark potential, and it was at this moment that Leia knew that Palpatine must be destroyed. But anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on this? And what are your thoughts on the only time that Leia saw Palpatine face to face? What are your thoughts on this aspect of the Star Wars lore, and this being a defining moment for Princess Leia Organa? As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching the channel. May the Force be with you, and I hope that you have a great day.